Yeah, it's a good question. When you look at parents and coaches' relationship, and what are those boundaries? What's the role of a coach? What's the role of a parent during a season? And we'll talk about hockey. This could be any sport. I think it's really important, number one, for parents to stay in their role and coaches to stay in their role. And you have a lot of times where you have strong parents that maybe play the game, are too busy to coach at this time, but they are having input, or they're calling the coach or emailing the coach and getting too involved. And I know it's frustrating at times when you see maybe a coach who's underwater a little bit, not sure how to do things, maybe practices are bad, and that parent that maybe has coached before or has played the game before wants to get in. I think there's ways to do that, but again, keeping that role as a parent and role as a coach a little bit more defined, a little bit more separate. You can always offer help, because anybody who hasn't coached, you would be surprised at how much time it takes. Number one, these coaches are volunteers, so having a little bit of respect for the time they're spending, even the stresses. Anyone who coached 4-year-old soccer to minor midget AAA hockey, it's stressful, man. Even a 4-year-old soccer, you got to get practice plans together. You got to get, your cones set up. You got to try to, herd the cattle, get everyone together. So it's not easy. And for parents, I think a lot of times we see this and we're watching this and we get frustrated because, oh man, my Johnny's not touching the ball enough. My Johnny's not touching the puck enough. This drill sucks. Practice is terrible. But again, I think there's ways to communicate that with the coach, and there's ways to talk to the coaches about it. The worst thing that you can do is go talk to a bunch of parents about it and get the whole parent group flipped on the coach, and the next thing you know, it's a debacle. And this poor coach is now sinking even further underwater than what they were before. I've seen a lot of good things done where parents have, kind of strategically, but very with a thoughtfulness behind it, but offered, hey, I got a great resource for drills. Would you like to see it? And if the coach is open to it, like, yeah, sure, or hey, I know that, man, this is super overwhelming. I've coached before. It's nuts. Would you like some help? I can give you help in practice. I coached a couple years ago, or I played soccer when I just played hockey when I was young or whatever. But offer some help rather than, I think we're too quick to hammer coaches on how poor they're doing instead of trying to help the situation and get a little bit more involved with it as well. And then for the coaches, I think it's important to communicate with the parents, but don't become too friendly. Don't become too, even though you do have friends as potentially some of the parents, keep that friendship away from the rink or away from wherever you guys are playing, because I think sometimes it's really easy to get parents in your ear. And next thing you know, little Johnny's not getting enough ice time, and little Sarah's not playing the position she wants, and you're starting to make changes that maybe don't benefit the team, but benefit the individual because you've got so-and-so's father in your ear, so-and-so's mother in the ear. So I think as coaches, trying to be a coach and getting away a little bit from the parents and trying to just focus on what you're doing with the team. And the last thing I'd say for parents is the kids don't need another coach. They got a coach at school with a teacher. They got a coach at practice. They need a parent. They need a mom and a dad. And when you have them in the car, don't bitch about the season. Don't bitch about the coach. Don't bitch about those kids. Talk to your son, daughter. Talk to them. Hey, how was practice today? Hey, you worked really hard today. It was great. Hey, you had some really good touches. And your son might be like, yeah, that drill sucked. Well, yeah, but there were some good parts of it. You guys got a chance, even though you may not agree with what the coach is doing, way better to have a parent than another coach. And the negativity just spreads so fast. So trying to be positive on stuff a little bit. And if you want to go home and blow a gasket, maybe you do it at night with your wife and lose your mind about how bad practice is. But try to keep it away from the kids, because a lot of times they don't really know what politics are. They don't need to get involved in any of the politics and why so-and-so is playing and why so-and-so is not playing. So I think it's important as parents to be a parent. And if you want to coach, man, become a coach. And you'll realize pretty quickly how hard that is and how difficult it is.
And also that point of professionalism, you're never going to, if you don't model professionalism to your kids that are playing, they have no hope of being a professional then.
Totally, yeah. And I think that's a really good point. Your kids are going to mimic a little bit of your behavior, right? So if you're in the car, at home, on the phone with somebody, always being negative about the season, the coach, all that stuff will, for whatever reason, little Johnny's not going to like that coach either because he's hearing it all the time. Maybe he doesn't have an issue with the coach. Maybe he likes the coach. And that's one of the questions I asked. For instance, we had a game the other day, and I asked my son, hey, how was your ice time today? It's like, oh, it was good. I loved the game, had fun. I'm like, great. And he didn't get slighted ice time, but I always ask these questions just to see what they think, because maybe I thought he got pulled off early. Maybe I thought, and I didn't, but I'm just saying, I want them to, if he has no problem with his ice time, why am I going to go to the coach and start? So having that discussion with your child first and saying, hey, how was the game today? Great, I loved it. It was awesome. Maybe your son only played half the game because they missed shifts, they got penalties, whatever. I loved it. It was awesome. I had fun. Okay, then why do you have an issue with it? right? So I think that's another important piece is having that communication with your child before you start attacking coaches or going at coaches.